James stood on the podium, clutching his diploma with a mix of pride and sadness. The cheers of his classmates filled the air, but his heart was heavy. Just hours earlier, he had received the devastating news: his parents had been killed in a car accident on their way to his graduation ceremony. The triumph of this day, a day he had worked so hard for, was overshadowed by a crushing loss. His parents had been his biggest supporters, encouraging him through every challenge. They were supposed to be here, beaming with pride. Now, they were gone. James felt a numbness settle over him as he accepted his diploma. Life, it seemed, had dealt him a cruel hand. With his parents gone, James found himself adrift. Despite graduating with honors, the job market was unforgiving. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but no job offers came. His savings dwindled, and the once bright future he had envisioned seemed to slip further away with each passing day. James' girlfriend, Rachel, tried to be supportive at first. But as their financial situation worsened, her patience wore thin. One evening, after yet another argument about money and his failure to find a job, Rachel lashed out. "You're worthless, James. I can't keep living like this," she screamed before storming out, leaving James alone with his thoughts. Desperate and broken, James turned to the one place he thought he might find solace: his church. He sought out his pastor, hoping for some words of wisdom or a sign that things would get better. "Pastor, I feel like my life is falling apart," James confessed. "I can't find a job, my parents are gone, and Rachel left me. I don't even know if God is listening anymore. Does he still perform miracles?" The pastor listened patiently before responding. "James, faith is not just about believing when things are good. It's about holding on when everything falls apart. Put God to the test. Pray, and see if he answers." Encouraged by his pastor's words, James decided to take the advice to heart. Every night, he knelt by his bed and prayed for a miracle. But days went by without any change. He felt his faith wavering, but he continued to pray, hoping against hope that something would happen. One Sunday morning, as he drove his old, unreliable car to church, it finally gave out just a few blocks away. Frustrated and angry, James abandoned the car and decided to take public transportation. Little did he know, this inconvenience would be the turning point in his life. On the crowded bus, James found himself sitting next to an elderly man who seemed to be talking to himself. Initially, James tried to ignore him, but then the man turned to him and asked, "Would you like to travel abroad for a scholarship?" James was taken aback. It seemed like a bizarre question from a stranger. "What are you talking about?" he replied skeptically. The old man repeated the question, and after the third time, James answered with a resigned yes, just to end the conversation. The man handed him a contact number and told him to call the next day for details. Skeptical but intrigued, James pocketed the number. After church, he recounted the strange encounter to his pastor, who urged him to follow up on it. The next morning, James called the number and was instructed to meet at a specific location with all his documents. He arrived, documents in hand, and was surprised to see the old man waiting for him. They went inside a building, and James handed over his documents. However, his hopes were dashed when the secretary informed them that the application period for the scholarship had closed the previous Friday. But the old man insisted they reopen it for James. Miraculously, they did. James underwent medical exams and completed all necessary paperwork. The entire process felt surreal. He couldn't believe his luck, or was it something more? He hadn't heard from the old man since that day, and attempts to contact him were futile. Despite the uncertainty, James pressed on. A few days later, he received a call confirming he had been accepted into the scholarship program. He was to travel to the United States the following week with all expenses paid. Overwhelmed with joy, He tried to call the old man to thank him, only to discover the number was non-existent. James couldn't shake the feeling that the old man was more than he seemed. He remembered his pastor's words about putting God to the test. Could it be that the old man was an angel? The thought filled him with awe and gratitude. He shared his experience with his pastor, who smiled knowingly. James, miracles happen in ways we can't always understand. You asked for a sign, and it seems you received one. With a heart full of hope and gratitude, James prepared for his journey. The pain of losing his parents and the hardships he faced had not been in vain. They had led him to this moment of transformation. As he boarded the plane to the United States, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. James knew that this opportunity was a gift, a miracle that would change his life forever. He was determined to make the most of it, not just for himself, but in honor of his parents and the faith that had carried him through the darkest times. In the United States, James excelled in his studies, fueled by the memory of his parents and the mysterious old man who had set him on this path. He found a new sense of belonging and purpose, making friends and building a future he had once thought impossible. James never saw the old man again, but he carried the experience in his heart as a testament to the power of faith and miracles. He dedicated his successes to his parents and the divine intervention that had turned his life around. His journey, marked by loss and despair, had ultimately led him to a brighter, more hopeful future.
The moral lesson of this story is that faith, perseverance, and belief in the possibility of miracles can lead to unexpected blessings and transformation. Despite facing immense personal tragedy and seemingly insurmountable challenges, James never lost faith. His willingness to continue praying and seeking guidance ultimately led to a miraculous opportunity that changed his life. In essence, the story encourages us to maintain faith during life's trials, remain open to miracles, and approach challenges with resilience and hope. It reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is potential for light and transformation if we keep believing and persevering.